Blog Talk Radio. Writing your book is the easy part. Promoting your book so readers can find and purchase it is the hard part. Welcome to the Author Chat Show, hosted by author-publisher Linda D. Brown. Follow us at www.facebook.com/authorchat. And to contact the show to promote your book, contact me at theauthorchatshow@gmail.com. Stay tuned and listen to today's show.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Author Chat Show. I'm your host, Linda D. Brown. My guest today is St. Louis author Tierra Fluker. Tierra is going to chat with us about her new book, Own Your Pain. We'll be right back to chat with Tierra after a word from today's sponsor. Authors, do you have a marketing plan and budget to promote your books? The Author Chat Guide to Promoting Your Book on a Shoestring Budget, written by best-selling author Linda D. Brown, host of the Author Chat podcast, has a list of author service providers eager to help you sell more books. To get your copy today, log on to smashwords.com. All right, welcome back to the show. For those of you just tuning in, my guest today is St. Louis author Tierra Fluker. Tierra is going to chat with us about her new book, Own Your Pain. I love that title. This is Tierra's first time on the Author Chat Show, so let's bring her on with a warm Author Chat welcome. Tierra, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it, Linda.
Not a problem, sweetie. We know so many people in the St. Louis area. It's a little scary how small St. Louis is.
Yeah, St. Louis is very small. It's a little small town.
Yes, it is. It's a small town in a big metropolis. It doesn't make sense, but you have to live here to know what we're talking about.
Yes, I agree.
Tierra, since this is your first time on the show, why don't we get started by you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 31. I'll be 32 March. I have an 11-year-old daughter that will be 12 this year. And I started writing my book about 3 years ago, and it was very hard for me to write my book because I'm a private person typically, and I didn't really want to expose my life. But God kept sending people in my life to say, hey, write this book. So through the process of me working a full-time job, also running a marketing and event planning business, I just started jotting down, pages day by day. And before you knew it, I was able to finish my book last year and get it published.
Great. Okay. I have so many authors that come on the show, Tierra, and they say the same thing. My message is so difficult. But, as soon as you said that, the first thing that came to my mind is the scripture, people are overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the power of our testimony. So I know it can be very difficult, which is probably why I did mine in more fiction form than as a non-fiction book, because you can kind of really tell the story and not hurt anybody's feelings, especially if they're still in your life. But I think it's really important, right, that we get these testimonies out. And I just honestly believe that God has really opened up self-publishing for such a time as this so that we can, speak on the things that he has put it on our hearts to share with others. So I really do commend you for, having the courage. Oh, sure, having the courage to step out and really tell your story, because just looking at the autobiography that you sent us, before the show, you do have a very personal story. So that being said, let's get started. Yes, you do. Tell us now. I want you to feel comfortable talking as much as you would like about what you overcame, because you definitely overcame some serious obstacles in your life.
Yes, I have. I would say the biggest obstacle I did have to overcome was forgiveness. And for many years, I held on to a lot of unforgiveness with family, friends, men, just so many people. I was just so angry and bitter at the things that people had did to me. So, at one point I was mentally and emotionally and physically sick because I was holding on to so much bitterness, hurt, and pain. And I didn't know why. I would go to church, I would pray like, God, help me to forgive these people. But, it's like when I said that prayer, I didn't really mean it. But when it got to the point where it started messing with my psyche, my mental psyche, that's when I reached out to God on a deeper level. And, I started going to some churches that do like deliverance and healing and things like that. And at that point, me doing that and getting counseling and attending a few personal development seminars, I finally was able to let go and really forgive. And what I learned about forgiveness, Linda, is like forgiveness is really not to like the person that hurt you or did something wrong to you. Forgiveness is for you to move forward, let go, and free yourself. Because when you hold on to unforgiveness, that person still has control and power over your life. So I decided to forgive and let go so that I can live a life of freedom, and I'm not the world. So, the book that I wrote was just, it was therapeutic for me. It was, it was me writing things down, getting things out of my system, taking off the mask. For many years I wore this mask like, oh, my God, everything in my life was so perfect and I had it all so together. But on the inside I was dying. I hated myself. I didn't like me, and I was dying. I literally was dying because I was so unhappy, with myself, even though on the outside people are like, oh, you look great. You seem to always have it together. But that was a front to really not show any hidden agendas in my life or the things that happened in my life. I just didn't want anyone to really know what really happened. So me going that deep and writing my book, I was able to reveal how I was sexually abused. I was able to reveal the dysfunction of the family that I grew up in. I was able to reveal me filing bankruptcy in my mid-20s because of a business loss that didn't go right. I was able to reveal some things that happened in corporate that shouldn't have happened. I was able to reveal like the overcoming, leaving a situation of domestic violence and how I overcame that. And so the reason why I didn't want to write that story is because I didn't want to expose the mask that I had been wearing. But God sent so many people in my life and showed me through dreams that I needed to write this book and share my story, because it's not my story, it's everybody's story. Everybody's dealing with something in secrecy. They're not telling people, and I think that's why the suicide rate is so high right now. The crime rate is so high because we're all dealing with this hurt and this pain on the inside, and we're not dealing with it.
Amen. Also, I want to, especially for our listening audience, because our listening audience is basically about 95% Christians. When we hold on to that unforgiveness, like you said, not only do you, it's more for you. It's not at all for the person that hurt you, but it also stops our blessing. And we want to be blessed, because we can't help others if we're not blessed. So I'm glad that you were able to overcome that. Tierra, and now I know you had mentioned in your autobiography, in your author bio that you sent me, that you dealt with child abuse. Now I want you to feel as comfortable telling us a little bit, as much about this as you can.
Yes, when I was about 10 years old, my husband, when my mother wasn't at home, he would kiss me and he would fondle with me, and he would just do things that were inappropriate with me. And one day, I think I was about 12, I sat down with my mom and I was like, Mom, I have something to tell you. And she was like, what? I was like, your husband has sexually abused me. And she was like, well, are you sure that happened? I said, yes, I'm positive it happened. And I gave her dates and things that happened when she was at the hospital. And she was like, I just don't believe you. But she said, I'm going to confront him about it. And when she confronted him about it, he denied it, of course. And she was just like, if I had a choice to make, I'm going to choose my husband over you. And I tell you, that was something I carried most of my life up until about 3 years ago. I was like, it really affected me in so many areas of my life that my own mother told me that if she had a choice to make, she would choose her husband over me, who sexually abused me, and the fact that she didn't believe me. But the truth was revealed when I was about 14 years old. He moved to Florida, and he was accused of raping a 14-year-old girl. So make a long story short, the truth came out. It came to light, and then he went to visit his own daughter at the hospital, and he looked under her, her robe that she had on at the hospital, looked at her genitals. So eventually this man was exposed for being the person he was exposed to, and my mother finally did believe me. And years later, she came back to me, and she apologized to me, but that was something that terribly affected me for many years, and I really despised my mother. I really didn't like her, but I had to forgive her because it was unhealthy for me not to forgive her and hold on to those grudges. And as I was able to communicate with my mother, it was some things in her childhood she went through that she had never spoke about. So, of course, it's a cycle that repeats itself. It's a generation of us not talking, keeping things swept under the rug. So when I came forward with the things that I came forward with in my family, I noticed a change and a shift in my family. You started opening up and talking more about the things that occurred in our childhood. And my own mother and her siblings went to confront their parents about some things that bothered them as children. So with that being said, I started seeing a shift with healing happening and more communication happening in my family. When I decided to write this book and publish the book, I saw a major shift happen.
Tierra, I actually worked with a woman, and it just really broke my heart. We weren't really close friends, but we were co-workers, sort of like, work friends. And this was years ago. And she also had a teen daughter. And she had, he wasn't her husband, he was her boyfriend at the time. And the daughter came to her and told her, told her mother the same thing. He's been touching me. He's been doing things that are inappropriate. And even when the woman told me the story, she was so furious at her daughter, not at the man, but at her daughter. And I just looked at her and I said, I just don't understand how you could not believe your child. Do you honestly think that your child would want to hurt you with a lie just to get your attention? You know what I'm saying? And it's honest, I'm going to be real honest with you, right? It made me look at this woman who, and let me just say this. These just don't happen to people that are, people that you would think, lower class. This was a woman that was an executive in the position that she was at the company that I worked for. And it was just mind-boggling to me that you would throw away what your daughter is trying to tell you so that you can say that you have a man,
Exactly.
So,
and millions of women do that.
Oh, they do. And another point that I like to make, and I'm going to bring us right current with, because I know there are a lot of people, especially African-American women, because I've just started watching it, that watch Shonda Rhimes' new show, How to Get Away with Murder. And it was actually revealed that the main character there had been sexually abused by her uncle. And the mother knew it. And, and the mother finally confided to her. And this is what you just said. It makes so much sense because, to me, I call it a generational curse. The mother told her, she said, and the mother was played by Cicely Tyson. She said, you're not the only one that has been abused. I told you that men take things, is what she said. They take, and she said, it happened to me, it happened to my mother, it happened to my aunt, and it's just mind-boggling. And the African-American community, and I'm not picking on us, but we have this history of keeping secrets that are so hurtful to the people that this stuff happens to. And you want to, you basically, these mothers and these aunts and these daughters, they want to sit up and protect their reputation instead of being concerned about their child. Oh, my God, girl, don't get me started.
Yeah, they want to protect their reputation and their men, most of all. They want to protect the men. I remember reading an article about Oprah, and Oprah said the same man that abused her, she found herself cooking grits for him at the stove, and she said, hold up. She stopped for a moment. She said, why am I cooking grits for a man that sexually abused us? And it's like we're conditioned to, if that man can abuse us, he can beat our butts, but we got to respect him and make him happy regardless of what we've been through. And I find a lot of our women being the backbone of families. They're being the provider of families. They're taking care of men financially, emotionally, physically, in every way that you can think of just to keep that man happy, regardless of what he does. He can go out there and have 1,000 women or rape kids, and that woman is going to still be by his side protecting him. But like Oprah said, it's a generational curse pretty much that needs to be broken upon our generation.
Absolutely.
We need major healing in our community. We really do.
Right. And it starts by having that conversation, opening your mouth and saying, I don't care if you want to hear it or not, this is what happened, and we're going to have to deal with it.
Yes, exactly.
Now, were you able to get some? Yeah, were you able to get some help with
yes,
this?
I went through counseling. I did. I went through counseling for about 3 years, and then I also did a program. It's a breakthrough and transformational program, and in this program that I did, it helped to give me a transformation to have the power to forgive that man and forgive my family and the people that that knew and that was a part of this but didn't really acknowledge it and take care of my emotional side. Transformational breakthrough program. It was funny because I actually ran into the man on my way back to my graduation to this program, and I told him I forgive him, and I asked him why.
Right.
But as I told him I forgave him, I felt nothing. So, I went back to the seminar, of course, and I told the seminar leader, oh, my God, I'm so excited. I told the man that I forgive him, and I felt nothing. He said, that means you're complete now. And ever since then, it's so funny because God, after I forgave him, it was interesting because, every month, it's like I would run into him. And every month, I felt nothing. And the more I ran into him, I saw that he was homeless. I actually felt sorry for him. So it's like, God had me running into this man for a period just to make sure I was actually complete and I wasn't, bitter and mad anymore.
Right, right.
So now I don't see him anymore, but I was seeing him over and over for about a 6-month period after that.
Wow. Now, Tierra, do you have any children of your own?
Yes, I have one child. She's 11.
Okay. So, and she's a female. Did you say she?
Yes, she's 11 years old.
Have you, number one, talked to her about what you went through, and number two, talk to her about the dangers of even, because here's what a lot of people don't understand. Well, I guess they do, but for sure if you go through it, most of the times these abusers are right in our family. So have you had that conversation with her?
I have, and I started having a conversation at around 8. And then I noticed around 10, when she turned 10, I became paranoid because that's the age when that happened to me. And what I mean by paranoid is I became really depressed. I didn't want her around anybody. I went through this moment of just being super protective over her because I didn't want her to be abused. And that's when I had a relapse, and I didn't realize I was having a relapse. And before you knew it, I literally was in suicide mode. It's like all of a sudden when my daughter hit 10, it's like I became so depressed. I literally tried to commit suicide, and I didn't know why I was doing all these things. But when I went to go back and revisit my counselor, she was, told me basically I was having a relapse of what happened to me at 10. I thought the same thing was going to happen to my daughter. So I was really panicked, really freaked out. I wasn't dating any men during that period. I was just I want my daughter to be safe. I don't want her around any men. So, that was something I had to, really get through with the counselor. That's something that's going to always be with me, and I'll never forget that. But, with raising a daughter, I'm just very careful and very selective in whom I bring around her. And not to sound mean or rude or anything, but I don't let my daughter spend a night with any man but her dad.
Exactly. Exactly.
I just don't. Uncles, cousins, no. My daughter's not going to spend a night with any guy but her dad, and that's it. I just, even if I was dating a gentleman and we had planned to get married or something, just perfect example, I would have to sit down and tell him, look, I think you're a nice guy. I don't think you would hurt my daughter, but just for my safety and peace of mind, I do not want my daughter being with you alone. And I tell my daughter, I don't care who it is, don't sit on a man's lap. I don't care who it is.
Right.
You're 11 years old. You don't need to sit on no man's lap. So I'm always and having those conversations with my daughter. And I've had them so much with her. She'd be like, Mom, I know you were abused. Nobody's going to hurt me, Mom. That's never happened to me. Now she gets mad because I have asked her all the time, has anybody touched you? have anybody made you
Right.
feel uncomfortable. So now she gets mad and she like gets so frustrated when I have those conversations. But I over these past couple of years, I'm like, talking to her that she's going through her little growth spurt right now. So
Right.
I'm really
Exactly.
like, hey,
I understand.
I frustrate her.
But you know what? You have every cause to. And to be honest with you, I raised a son, and I remember when he was about the age, 8, 9, playing on the little league teams, and he's got a lot of friends, very diverse, and the sleepover thing. And I was adamant, no. Only your family, and I'm like you, immediate family, exactly.
Yes.
And I actually had one of the fathers of his friends. He came by my house and we sat down, and he said, "I just don't understand why you will not let your son spend the night over at our house. I mean, you know us." I said, "I know the daytime you. I don't know the evening you. I don't know if, after 5 or 6 o'clock, especially on the weekends, are you an alcoholic? Is this something that you indulge in? Are you doing drugs? Because I know I offended him, and I told him, I don't say this to offend you, but I've always been a type of person, even as a young parent, to keep my eyes open. And I'm like you, I had my son so paranoid, he was afraid to go to the bathroom at school. If somebody comes into the bathroom while you're in there, you make sure you hurry up and do what you got to do and get out. But because we know, right, those of us, and even though I was never abused like that, I know people that were. And it does make you look at the world in a different mindset. And I'm like you, call me paranoid. I have no problem with that.
Little boys. Yeah, and it's
absolutely
more so little boys and little girls nowadays. So you're right. I mean,
exactly.
A lot of people don't have those conversations. I just read on Facebook a few days ago. These 2 little girls went to a friend's house for a sleepover, and the dad molested both little girls. And I'm thinking, it just made me think, like, I'm not being a paranoid parent. I am doing the right thing. My daughter's not going to do. I don't believe her doing sleepovers or anything like that at anybody's house, and I'm doing the right thing. Because we live in a different world, a different time and day, and I believe it's a spiritual warfare thing that's going on around the whole world. I know a lot of people probably don't believe in spiritual warfare, but it's real. From men killing their wives left and right to kids being abused and killed. It's like in 2015, it's like things have gotten worse. So I'm really concerned about the mindset of people nowadays.
Exactly. I just did a blog post. I was up until 2 o'clock. What's today? Friday night, up until 2 o'clock Saturday morning, writing a blog post on just that. Darkness is here. We need to wake up. My books are based, actually, believe it or not, about spiritual warfare. You might want to find them on Amazon because we talk about those things. Absolutely. And this is where we are.
Talking about that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny you have books about that because I visit a lot of church events, and again, a lot of church events are not touching base on spiritual warfare. It's a lot of sorcery going on a lot of days. A lot of people are into this new age stuff, and a lot of pastors are not really touching base on that, and I believe that's why a lot of people are just psychologically crazy right now.
Right. Oh, well, honey, you're going to love my book, so make sure you find them. Right. Make sure you find them. Now, before we talk, and I want to give out the price of the book and where people can find it, but let me ask you one more question. Since now you're whole, and God says, do you want to be made whole? And you sound so whole. You're not paranoid. You're truly right on track with everything that's going on. Tierra, have you been able to restore your relationship with your mother?
Yes, my mother and I, it's so funny. We have really gotten close over the past, I would say, couple years now. And after I wrote my book, my family has not read my book yet, but, and that's fine. God had already shown me a lot of people I knew would not support my book. So when my book was released and people didn't support my book, family and friends, of course, I wasn't disappointed. But a lot of people that I barely know have read my book, have, emailed me and Facebook posted me like, hey, your book really inspired me. But my mother is actually in the process of writing a book about her life. So I've been giving her some tips and kind of assisting her. And she's actually planning to move out of town this year and just start a new life and start over. But her and I were a lot closer, I would say, over the past couple of years. than we have ever been throughout my adult life. And you know what? I think the biggest lesson I had to learn with people is I just allow people to be who they are. The old Tierra was trying to fix everybody, and I didn't realize that was codependency. But as soon as I got healed and God showed me everything, and through dreams and confirmation, God said, you continue to be the change. You continue to work on yourself, and people around you will begin to change and shift. So, again, with my entire family, I am seeing so many changes. It's scary sometimes.
Yes. Exactly.
And I just took a step back and I just let people be who they are and let them make their decisions, and it has worked out so much better that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so again, for the listening audience, the name of Tierra's book is Own Your Pain, and I love the cover. She's got boxing gloves on the cover because it is a fight. And you know what, Tierra? It's a spiritual fight because we are in war. Absolutely, absolutely. Anything that takes your innocence, that's spiritual warfare, just like you said. So the paperback is available on Amazon for $9.99. Now, do you have it available in Kindle?
No, it's only available through Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com right now. But I am working on that very soon to have it on Kindle.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I know that your book and this interview is going to really bless a lot of people. We'll definitely have this one, converted into a YouTube video, and you can place it on your website or your social media site so people can actually listen. We do have a few more minutes. Tell us about you're an entrepreneur here in St. Louis. Yay! Because we definitely try to promote entrepreneurs here in St. Louis. And you're also a certified life coach plus speaker. So now tell us about your event planning business and how people can contact you for so that you can help them with their events.
Oh yes, that's awesome. I've actually been event planner since 2012. So I've put together several big expo and trade shows here in St. Louis, and I also do a lot of business events for small business owners. Basically, the business events build brand awareness, connect you with new customers. To learn more information about that, you can visit www.distinctivead.com, and that's DISTINCTIVE, A as in Apple, D as in David.com. And then you can request more information and visit the site and see some of the work that I've done in the St. Louis area.
Great. We will put that on the Author Chat Facebook fan page so that they can have a link to just click on. And you're also a certified life coach. So I think that's great that you're paying it forward. You knew, because that's another stigma that the African-American community has an issue with, and that is going to get some help. Now, come on, if your body's sick, don't you go to the doctor? If you're dealing with mental issues or just, why would you not go and seek help? So tell us about your life coach business.
So basically, I'm a certified life coach, and I've been certified for several years, and I've done additional seminars and personal development seminars to get acquired more training so that I know what I'm doing. And, of course, I have a PhD in pain and loss. So God gave me the vision to do pain and loss because that's something a lot of people are dealing with, whether it's a death, whether it's depression, whether it's suicide, whether it's a bad breakup or a loss of a friend. That's all pain, and that is all loss. So what I do is I sit down with the person and I find out, listen to them first of all, find out who they are, their background, and then what we do is we come up with a plan, and a plan basically is to take baby steps to get you back happy, whole, and a life full of joy. So with that plan, and I always recommend 6 months to a year of working with me because it takes that long being on that journey of overcoming pain and loss. So after about a year, the goal is for that person, I don't like to say just a complete happy life forever because happiness comes and goes depending on the situation you're going through, but a life of joy, completeness, and whole. So that you can have an identity. You can walk away with values, the morals of who you are and why you're here after, getting over the pain and loss. Because you can't walk and step into your calling until you overcome addictions, pain, loss, hurt. So after that, you can step into your calling. So basically what I do through the pain and loss coaching practice is I do that. I'm also available for speaking engagements and retreats or speaking at churches as well. And to learn more about that
Wonderful.
information, you can visit www.tierrafluker.org, and it's